question is, are you ready?
What do you guys want to talk about?
Let me talk to you.
Throwdown Nation, we are live. Tonight is episode 78 of the Throwdown with Matt. It is a Friday night. We are streaming on Instagram, YouTube, Twitter/X, Facebook, and Twitch. And tonight we are throwing down with from straight out of the frozen tundra that is Buffalo, New York. We have with us deathmatch wrestler Hardcore. How you doing tonight, sir?
Oh man, I am doing fabulous. It is a good Friday night. I am not working. I have the weekend off. About to talk to some good friends. Ready for the action. Let's go.
Absolutely. And for those of you that are watching this live right now, if you have any questions or comments as we go along, throw them in the chat and we'll either handle them as we go or do a little viewer Q&A at the end.
Oh yeah.
So, like I was saying before we went live, I'll be the first to admit I have not watched a ton of deathmatch wrestling. I have watched some, and there definitely is something very different, very primal to it, which is quite enjoyable. And I've seen some of John Moxley's deathmatch stuff. I've seen some of Nick Gage's, and I've seen some of Nick Mondo.
That's a solid list so far.
I mean, a little bit here and there.
Yeah.
But we'll start with the first and most obvious question, and that is, how long have you been wrestling, and what drew you to deathmatch wrestling?
Oh man. So officially off and on, I've been about 20 plus years. I've come and gone a couple times. I went to college, I got married, stuff like that. Took some time off, but I'd say, I mean, I was always into deathmatch wrestling, even when I was little. The Japanese tournament with Cactus Jack and Terry Funk really changed my entire life. And then that evolved right into ECW. And then I got right back into Japan, and then that's when like CZW started with Necro Butcher and Madman Pondo and Nick Gage and Sick Nick Mondo, and that really changed the entire just playing field for me as a fan. And I mean, that was really all I ever needed. I was always a diehard wrestling fan, even since I was a little kid. My whole family's been diehard wrestling fans. The first VHS tape I ever had was a bootleg copy of WrestleMania 1 that was given to me by my father's friend who ran a bar and secretly showed pay-per-views of wrestling in his bar. You know what I mean? Like he would illegally show them and like lock the doors, and I would get to go there with my father and all these drunk, a-holes and sitting around at 4 years old watching, literally the first WrestleMania. I remember when The Undertaker beat Hogan for the first time. I was sitting at that same bar, and I remember crying like a baby as a little kid, and my father just laughing at me because he knew, he already knew what wrestling was about and this and that. So like, he was really enjoying the fact that I was still a little kid and I was just fully immersed. But I mean, my entire life, my cousin used to run the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame in Amsterdam, New York. I used to run security for him while he did that. I mean, everyone I know in my entire life is a wrestling fan in one way or another. You know what I mean? I feel like it's affected pretty much every facet of life at this point. But deathmatch, deathmatch is the death metal of wrestling. You know what I mean? And I've
Yeah.
always tended to go to the most extreme version of something, the most, the most insane horror movies, the most heavy metal, the most absolute shocking version of this and that, and the subgenre of a subgenre. And I mean, it was natural progression to get to deathmatch. You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
once I was able to actually physically do it myself, I said, let's go. And it's been about 3 years now since I've been fully doing deathmatch. I still do regular matches and everything like that, and wrestling is my love across the board. It doesn't matter what kind of match I'm in, but I'll be damned if I don't love me a deathmatch. Oh, it
Gotcha.
is. It
Gotcha.
just it cures what ails me. It is. I like to call it very much group therapy. It's
Hmm.
two friends going into a ring and beating the hell out of each other and coming out and hugging and having a beer and feeling the best they've ever felt in their entire lives. It's euphoria. That's
That's
plain and
awesome.
simple. Yeah, man. Never felt anything like it. It's the best drug I've ever done.
So, who trained you?
So back in the day, I actually trained at a school in New York that included like Eric Rowan and my cousin who won the Hall of Fame and stuff like that. And then my cousin actually got injured, and we were going at the same time. We were just teenagers when we started, and he
Hmm.
injured his back in training, and it kind of fell by the wayside for a little bit. I trained for a little while longer, and then that was about the time that I started to go to college and this and that. And I mean, I came back and I got back into it and. I mean, I've been trained by Colin Delaney and Cheech and Chris Worthless and Maddock and a bunch of people from up in Rochester. And I mean, I'm never not training is the thing. Like if you're in a ring, you're
Oh
always
yeah.
picking up something from somebody, and you're always if you're not paying attention, you're not doing it right. You know what I mean? Like I very much
Exactly.
have a photographic memory when it comes to stuff like that. I've always been a football player. I have a background in martial arts. It's the physical aspect is very, very okay with me. Like I can take injury like nobody's business. I very rarely actually am injured after a match. The only
Hmm.
one I can think of is this past one in October when I fought Jimmy Chando and I shattered my arm, which is I don't know if you can see this guy there, but I
Yeah.
got a nice 4 inch metal plate in my arm there. And I mean, it's deathmatch. I genuinely feel like deathmatch is actually safer than a non-deathmatch wrestling match. And I say that
I
only
can
because
see that.
I think the participants know in the back of their mind that anything wrong can happen at any point in time. You can
Right.
slice an artery, you know what I mean? I mean, Nick Gage, you know what I mean? He literally
Yeah.
died in the ring.
Yeah.
That's so it's that you got to have that sense of mental camaraderie, you know what I mean? To just watch out
Hmm.
for each other.
And
And
trust.
oh, trust. If you don't trust somebody in the ring, you probably shouldn't be in the ring with them. You can hope for the
Exactly.
best, but it's
Yeah.
it's very much a thing that you need to have before the match.
Hmm.
Um, I've been in the ring with people who I didn't know before. It was my first time meeting them, and it wasn't necessarily a bad time, but it was definitely a more difficult time than others. I'll say that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it wasn't. You make the best of it. You know what I mean? You're both
Yeah.
professionals, but if you don't, you know what I mean? Like sometimes you know what I mean? I'm literally getting to the venue and I have 20 minutes as I'm putting on my wrestling gear. I'm also, talking over everything. It's just, it really is a matter of circumstance.
Right.
And you really have to make the best of it. But if you really feel in your heart of hearts that something, you know what I mean, isn't going to go right, don't do it. Like
Absolutely. Yeah.
that's
And
really it. Sorry.
and listen to that little voice. you know.
You know what's a
Um.
real shame? I don't have that little voice. I have, I very much am a guy who's play ball mentality when it comes
Yeah.
to a match. I know what my body can endure. I
Yeah.
know that if you're gonna, throw me on this bed of, razor blades, I'm probably gonna be okay. It's gonna suck for my skin, but I'm going to be okay.
Yeah.
And I heal very fast, and I know that, and I'm very aware of how my body heals. So I'm very okay with 99.99% of things.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Yeah, it's
But yeah, you were mentioning Eric Rowan. That is a massive man.
so I'm 5'9", okay? I'm 5'9".
Hmm.
That's like I'm very much always the little guy in the ring. The
Hmm.
last match I had was in Houston, Texas, against a man named Wesley Crane, and that was the first time there was a man slightly smaller than me in a very long time.
Hmm.
But I'm very much like a little badger, and I can hold my own as a little guy. You know what I mean? I'm going to pick you
Yeah.
up over my head still, and I'm going to throw you across the ring. It doesn't matter how small I am.
Yeah.
But then again, I was just in the ring with Sam Stackhouse this past weekend, also in Texas, and I tried to body slam him twice. It did not go well. That man is, I don't want to over or undersell it, but I'm pretty sure he's right around 600 pounds legitimately.
Oh, good gracious.
Oh yeah, but
I mean,
I had to give it the old Harvard try, you know.
yeah, yeah. I mean, he's there. You might as well give it a whirl and see what
Had
happens.
to, had to, had to do it at least once.
Oh, for
Can't say I
sure,
didn't
for
try,
sure.
but I mean, that's how it is. And I'm glad that early on I got that feel of like bigger guy in the ring against me because that's always how it's been. Even when I moved to Rochester, or moved to Buffalo and started training in Rochester, everyone was bigger than me. Everyone in the class was bigger than me. Everyone that was instructing was bigger than me. It's, I mean, I hate to say it like this, but it definitely toughens you up. You're either going to make it or you're not going to make it. And
Absolutely.
I don't plan on stepping away for a while. So, you know what I mean?
Gotcha. Gotcha.
You can slow me
So,
down with broken bones, but
so you mentioned having a martial arts background. What arts have you practiced?
oh, so I started actually at the age of 3. I did Wichi Ru for oh my God, 7 to 10 years. I
Hmm.
reached the level of purple belt in Wichi Ru. I was also on a travel all-star team, if you will, that went and performed around the country. I was also the 1997 East Coast Grand Champion for the World Martial Arts Union.
Hmm.
Um, it came very naturally to me. I love martial arts very much. I had the mental discipline for it, and it very much like soothed my soul. After I did all that, I actually got into Bruce Lee style martial arts, Jeet Kune Do, and I did that for a good 4 years. Absolutely loved it. It's basically like freeform martial arts. You do
Gotcha.
what you adapt to what works for you the best. In terms, I mean, you can't limit yourself. There's a lot of
Hmm.
boxing in it. There's a lot of Muay Thai kicks. There's a lot of it grabs from a lot of things. It's not just one thing. It's everything intertwined, and
Gotcha.
I absolutely love it. And when I first started out, I actually did a lot of not necessarily martial artsy type of wrestling, but it definitely was integrated into my moveset and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And just as I went on, I started watching it, and I'm very much a diehard Mick Foley guy. So I
Hmm.
started doing the brawler, and then I got into Necro Butcher, and then I started brawling more. And then, I wasn't doing the drop kick anymore. I was just throwing punches and kicks, and you know what I mean, like stuff like that.
Yeah.
More so power bombs as opposed to Hurricane Ranas.
Yeah. Yeah.
I did do a very good Hurricane Rana last week, though. Just saying,
Nice. Nice.
first time in a
Yeah,
while.
yeah. I was asking about the martial arts because I did Brazilian jiu-jitsu for a few years and
Oh,
really enjoyed
damn!
that. Yeah.
I have always actually wanted to get into that. And I wanted to get into Muay Thai very like thoroughly.
Hmm.
I love the way they move. I love the insane like fury in their strikes. Like
Yeah.
man, that really I have children now talking about it. It hypes me up a lot.
Oh yeah. But
And how did you enjoy that?
oh, I loved it. Loved it.
Yeah.
I actually trained to the blue belt level, which is it's only the second level, but in BJJ it takes a few years to move from belt to belt.
Yes.
And
Yes.
and right about the time I got my blue belt, my son was getting to the age where he was starting to really do stuff, and I just got busy with him and with
Life
life, and
happens.
yeah, it does,
That's
it does. But
I mean, that's exactly why I've come and gone from wrestling. Life happens, you know what I mean? Like
yeah,
I've paused it a couple times, but I've always come back to it. It's always been a constant in my life, no matter if I wanted it to be or not. You know what I mean? It's that thing in the back of the brain that's just like, hey man, don't you ever forget about me. And I never did.
yep, absolutely.
Yes.
So, in terms of the early portions of your training, what would you say was the most challenging part? What was the hardest thing for you to wrap your mind and body around?
Um, to be perfectly honest, so there's usually before training, you do 30 minutes an hour of calisthenics.
Hmm.
And before that, I was very much a football player, so I was running miles and this and that. And the amount that they push you, I actually puked a good handful of times just doing that before even getting into the ring and doing the training of the day. That was genuinely the hardest part. and you build a tolerance to it, you build a tolerance to it, you get a little stronger, you get a little stronger. But I mean, it would still come and go every once in a while. Like I would just be sitting there, and I don't know if it was something I was doing outside of training or whatever, but like I'd be doing something, all of a sudden be like, and you got to run real quick, otherwise, what I mean, you're puking on the mat, and that's not happening.
Yeah.
And then you're
Yeah.
doing laps, and then you're puking more. So
Yep.
it's early on that was the hardest part. As I got older, it was genuinely just the um having to balance day-to-day life and then go to training. You know what I mean? Like go do
Hmm.
your 8 hour job and then drive an hour to training for 3 hours and go home, sleep, repeat every day for however long. And I mean, it's worth it. Don't I'm not knocking it. I'm not saying it's obviously I'm living my entire dream right now, but it's that balance and not to lose your mind doing that is probably the hardest aspect of all of it. To keep a sane brain while you're trying to follow a dream, but also trying to pay your bills and have a relationship and see friends and this and that. Like it's very hard to not sacrifice something.
Gotcha.
And when I first got into deathmatch and started traveling a lot more, um, it was very hard for me to have that balance. I have a very, very wonderful girlfriend who is very accepting and understanding, and we are able to talk about things. And we actually sat down, and she let me know that I was probably spending too much time on the road, and that's totally understandable for her to say. And I think after a few years of actually doing this and seeing it, you know what I mean, feeling it out to the fullest extent, I like to think now I have a good balance. I usually keep my bookings to 1 to 2 weekends a month. So I actually
Hmm.
have a couple of weekends a month to actually be home. I like to get those bookings sometimes in the same weekend so I can just get them out of the way. You know what I mean? Boom, boom. Really jet
Right.
set the countryside. But it's that's the balance is really the hardest thing. I mean, you know all the wrestler stories. Like none of their marriages ever last, and you know what I mean. Like it's because they're on the road 340 days a year. I'm not on the
Right.
road that much, clearly, but every other weekend is still a lot for a normal human being. You know what I mean?
Right.
Especially when you have someone who loves you and is waiting for you back home, who just wants you to be there. You know what I mean? And
Yep.
I'm not saying she's not supportive whatsoever. She is my biggest supporter in the entire world, but I can understand how it weighs heavy. And it took me a minute to realize that, and I'm glad I did, though. You know what I mean? I'm glad she didn't give up on me, which is I can't thank her enough. Her name is Alyssa. She is the greatest human being I've ever met in the entire world. Um, we met at
Gotcha.
deathmatch. But that's not to curtail the question. The balance is the hardest part. Early on
Yeah.
training, the training aspect was the hardest part, but now it's definitely the mental balance of everything.
Right. Right. But I know what you mean. My wife Julia is my biggest supporter as well, and and we just actually back in November hit 26 years, and when you are with the right person, man, there is nothing like it. And
Congratulations, first
well,
of all.
thank you.
I don't hear about that very often anymore. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Um, I was married and divorced once. I came from a family of divorce. My girlfriend is also divorced. When we
Hmm.
actually got together, we both sat down and we said, "Hey, do you ever want to do that again?" And we both agreed no. I said, "You want to just stay together forever?" And she said, "Yes." And I'm very okay with that. But
Yeah.
I'm a hopeless romantic to the T. So I've actually been engaged 3 times in my life. Like I've
Hmm.
always been, you know what I mean, the guy who's just looking for love. And this time, love actually found me. I was single for a long time before I met my girlfriend,
Hmm.
and we were literally just in the same place at the same time, watching the same thing, enjoying the same thing, and the rest is history.
Well, that's cool. So you weren't actually competing at the show you met her at?
Oddly enough, I drove. So I'm from a small town in New York called Amsterdam, New York, which is
Okay.
about 4.5 hours from where I'm at now, south, towards
Okay.
Albany. Um, I drove up one weekend for the first XPW show, Theater Brutality, which
Hmm.
was literally at a cheeseburger shop.
Nice.
No ring. It was a no ring death match. There was literally the entrance was coming out of the kitchen, but I was going up to meet the owner of the company and my now manager, Will.
Hmm.
And she is from Buffalo, so she drove down because she was already a fan of deathmatch, and we just happened to be Instagram friends, and we recognized each other. We took a picture that night. First time we ever met, we talked for hours, and then lo and behold, a month later, we're both down in Atlantic City, New Jersey for GCW. And then I said, well, this is very serendipitous. So
Yeah.
we started talking, and then I started taking the train up to Buffalo. And then I said, you know what? This is silly. Do you want to just like do this? And she said, yeah. So I moved up here.
Nice, nice.
Yeah,
You know, they call that, I think, kismet.
they sure do. They sure
Yep.
do. And they nailed it because, man, I hit the jackpot. I really, really did. I live in a very cool spot. My shoot job actually is about 45 seconds from my apartment. So I walk
Oh,
to
that's
work every
even
single
better.
day. It's like I said, very, very kismet, very kismet. It's
Awesome.
I live a very surreal life where I'm very much in the right place at the right time a lot of the time, and it's just
Hmm.
a matter of circumstance. And I really think secretly that someone might be playing me as a video game.
Could be, or it could be like that movie, The Truman Show, where you're,
That's
yeah,
that's the thing. I don't ever think of myself as the main character, so it's like that might be a little bit of a stretch. You know what I mean? I'm definitely a strong supporting character, but I don't like to think of myself as the main character. I'm never that important. You know what I mean? Even in my own life, there's no this couldn't have ever happened without my support system. You know what I mean? My friends and fans and you know what I mean? Family members who actually give a crap, and it's I'm a very lucky guy. I'm a very lucky guy. 100%.
good.
I count my blessings every day. I'm not a religious man, but oh, am I lucky?
Yep.
Yeah.
So, away from wrestling, what are some of your other hobbies and interests?
Okay, I'm about to blow your mind. Ready for this? So I
Sure.
actually have a degree in special effects makeup.
Oh,
Uh,
that's cool.
are you familiar with Tom Savini?
I am.
I
Yeah.
went to his school in Pittsburgh, and I have a
Really?
degree in physical special effects, practical makeup. I lived in LA for a few years. I did some TV shows and music videos, and I was an extra actor for a while. But it's always been my dream when I was 6 years old. I've had three dreams in my life: makeup artist, tattoo artist, pro wrestler, and I've done all three so far.
That is very
The,
cool.
the makeup artist and the tattoo artist, I definitely wasn't in the right mindset or old enough to, you know what I mean, grasp
Hmm.
everything. But this is the perfect timing for me wrestling at my age. Like I'm very okay with where I'm at in my life. You know what I mean? I know who I am as a person. Um, this was, like I said, perfect timing, just like the rest of my life. And but yeah, I absolutely love doing makeup. It's just whenever I have to do something that's artistic physically like that, and I have to
Hmm.
rely on that to eat, it takes all the passion out of it for me.
Right.
Wrestling is the only thing that has never done that. So I'm just rolling with it until I can't roll with it anymore.
Gotcha.
Yes.
So, so you mentioned your day job. What is
Oh yeah.
your day job?
You ready for this?
Yeah.
I am a manager of a Dollar Tree.
Oh, that is cool.
And it's literally a 45-second walk right over there into a plaza. Yeah, they all know what I do. The my district manager, his best friend is actually a retired pro wrestler also. So he gives me every weekend off to travel. Whatever I need, he has me. Like there's never every time I saw him today, he came in, gave me a big hug, asked me how I was doing, immediately asked about my arm because he knew I shattered it. Um, they're very, very supportive. It's it's very surreal to be able to do both. Like I do a 40-hour work week and I
Mhm.
come home and then I do podcasts and I do promos and I somehow find the time. My girlfriend helps me film promos. She's a manager at a different kind of store also. She's actually at work right now, so she'll probably be coming home in the middle of this. I apologize. Um,
Oh, that's fine.
she might actually say hello. But it's super cool. I actually, so it's a Dollar Tree, so I have an unlimited supply of thumbtacks and skewers, and
That's true. Yeah.
I'm able to MacGyver a lot of weapons from my job. Um, and they know it, so they literally will put things aside for me, and they'll start like putting things together, be like, "How do you think about this?" You know what I mean? Like they'll get creative with it now because they know that I'm like that guy. And I show them clips, and I show them, I come in and I'm still, very much cut open from my match last week, and I go and all the customers are the same, 50 customers every day, and they know exactly what I'm about, and they ask how I'm doing, and it's very surreal life, but it keeps me humble because nobody actually like watches wrestling there, so
Hmm.
they just kind of hear the stories and like go based on that. So no one actually like comes in and is like, oh my God, that's hardcore, which I don't expect anyways. I'm not superstar status, no way, shape, or form, but it's that's my Clark Kent. That's my Clark Kent.
Gotcha.
You know
Well,
what I mean? And
have any of your coworkers actually come to see you wrestle? No. Okay.
actually, in a few months, there's going to be a little something going on. Oh, in Canada, March, I'm actually in the first Canadian deathmatch tournament.
Oh,
And I
that's
think
cool.
a lot of them are actually going to come up and support. It's only an hour away. I live literally 10 minutes from Canada. The bridge, I can see the bridge from here. On a clear day, I can see Canada from here. So, all you need is an enhanced license or a passport, and I'm pretty sure a few of them are going to come up. It's about an hour away, so that's actually going to be pretty cool. But I think it's also going to probably terrify them because the contrast of
Yeah.
me, like in real life and in the ring, is vastly different. Like,
Gotcha.
I'm not a blubbering psychopath full of blood right now, so we're already off to a good start.
Gotcha. Well, that's actually a perfect segue to the next question because I was, they say that the best wrestling personas are kind of yourself turned up to 11. So tell me a bit about in ring hardcore and kind of compare and contrast him with everyday you.
Okay, so I agree with the turn up to 11 part on certain aspects, but I'm vastly different in certain aspects too. I'm the most non-violent person outside of the ring. I actually hate seeing fights in real life. It upsets my stomach. I will be the
Hmm.
guy who breaks up a fight. Um, I'm a vegan. I love animals.
Hmm.
I don't eat meat. Um, you know what I mean? I enjoy horror movies and all kinds of music. I'm a giant music lover of all sorts. I tend to mostly steer towards the heavy stuff, but
Hmm.
I'm very much one of my favorite bands of all time is Queen.
Hmm.
Um, I I draw, you know what I mean?
Do you play
On my
any
off days,
instruments?
I don't. My brother's the instrumental one. I got the drawing artistic ability out of the family.
Gotcha.
He was
Gotcha.
able to pick up an instrument at 3 years old and master it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can draw from memory. That's my thing.
Oh, that's
Um,
cool.
it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. It tends to be a little annoying at times because sometimes my brain is like, no, wait, that's not how it is. But um, I live a very boring life outside of wrestling, honestly. I go to work, I come home, I hang out with my girlfriend. We usually have a TV show or a video game to play. We play a lot of Mario Party. Uh, we have a cat. You know what I mean? I hang with my
Hmm.
cat a lot. She grew up with dogs, so she thinks she's a dog. It's you know what I mean? I'll have a couple beers, I smoke a little pot. It's nothing crazy really. I'm 40 years old, so my friends are scattered throughout the country. We talk a lot, but I don't see them very often. I get to go home
Gotcha.
on occasion and see my family. I have a mom, I have a brother, I have a deadbeat dad. Uh, I'm very close with my mom and my brother and my cousins and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm a pretty simple guy outside of the ring. Inside the ring, though, I like to think I'm vicious. That's exactly what I'm going for. I, you know,
Gotcha.
you got to be,
So
otherwise you're not going to survive.
right, right. So you mentioned coming home and watching stuff with your girlfriend. Are you watching anything cool right now? I'm always
Oh,
looking for recommendations.
brother, you have asked the right questions tonight because we are currently watching one of my current favorite shows of all time. It's called Severance. Um,
I've heard that's good.
it's amazing. I haven't seen anything like it in a very long time. I'm actually like I sit on the edge of the couch and I'm like fully immersed. And we just finished season one. There's two seasons. Season two is happening right now. I didn't realize it was a couple years old already. The girlfriend introduced me to it. So but it's you. I think you would absolutely enjoy it. Very much so. Are you? I don't want to say anything about it. I just want you to go into it blind but
Okay.
it's unique and new and cool and it has a very good cast. and Ben Stiller created it actually, which is
Really?
yeah, mind blowing to me.
Hmm.
Um, so it's but I can only recommend it to the fullest degree. It's absolutely amazing. We've been binging it every single night, and when I'm not doing that, I just started. So I have my original PS2 still, and
Oh,
I just
cool.
started replaying Dino Crisis
Hmm.
because I love me a sci-fi dino. You know what I mean?
Oh,
That tears
yeah.
you apart. But yeah, we do that, and we both work, a lot. And when we're not doing that, we hang out with her family a lot. She's very close with her family. She has a very tight-knit family, two sisters, an awesome father. Her father has very much become a father to me, which is absolutely wonderful. I get very emotional around her family. Like it's such a loving environment, and I just didn't have that growing up. You know what I mean? So it's uh, new and it takes a little process, but it's just the best feeling ever to just be. I mean, they accept me exactly how I am. They know what I do. You know what I mean? Um, and it's super cool. I'm like I said a million times over. I'm a very lucky guy when it
Gotcha.
comes to stuff like that.
So tell us about this is kind of a two-part question.
Ooh.
Tell us about your very first match, and then tell us about your very first death match.
So, I mean, my very first match, I was actually a yarder when I first, you know what I mean, back in the day. And
Backyard?
oh yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
In Amsterdam, New York, where I'm from, we there was actually a backyard federation that went on for 20 years.
Hmm.
Never was interrupted. It was run by the same guy who started it, you know what I mean? We used to do it at
Hmm.
my house growing up, and then it moved to a different place. And it was me and my cousin who used to run the Pro Hall of Fame, and we were full of reversals and Hurricane Ranas and this and that. That is, I mean, that is my all-time favorite memory because it was the coolest thing ever. I know it was only in the backyard, but it felt very, you know what I mean?
Oh,
We
yeah.
practiced and we practiced and we practiced and we practiced and we practiced, and it was nobody got hurt, and it was super cool. And um, my first pro match. It was a disaster. My nerves were so bad when I first started that it was a complete like train derailment, and it was like I would talk about a match and it would just that you know what I mean. But my first death
Yeah.
match, I don't even know what my first one was. I'm trying to think back now. Like it was only a couple of years ago. I do get hit in the head a lot, so bear with me.
Gotcha.
um, I mean, I think it was also back to the theater of brutality where I went and met my girlfriend and my manager. And I actually fought one of my trainers who's about 6'6", 320, and I'm 5'9", 160. And if you look on my Instagram, some of my bloodiest pictures of all time are from that match. He absolutely tore me to pieces. I mean, it was the greatest thing ever. Don't get me wrong. Like, I loved every second of it. I got a wound on my wrist, and if I flexed my hand, I spurted blood out of my wrist.
Oh, lovely.
Oh, there's a video of that on Instagram as well. Yes. Um, it was. I mean, yeah, it was fantastic. You know what I mean? It really set the tone for the rest of my deathmatch career because, um, I like to go very very hard when it comes to deathmatch. Like I said, I know my body. I know exactly what I'm capable of. So a lot of the insane stuff, I actually tell people to give towards me because I know that
Mhm.
it'll be okay. They're very hesitant a lot of times because I'll come literally with a bat covered in razor blades or, you know what I mean, scissors or something like that. And they'll be like, I don't want to hit you with that. And be like, tough. And they do it. And then it's the coolest thing ever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
but yeah, uh, it's come a long way. I'm very comfortable in myself now. I will stay forever humble. I like to keep myself at a nice, even keel. I'm never going to be the guy who thinks that he's the superstar or anything like that. I am very grateful for everything, but deathmatch is just the coolest thing in the entire world to me, and I'm so glad that I've progressed to where I'm at now because I
Hmm.
think it's where I need to be at the moment. You know what I mean? Like I think I'm exactly where I need to be right now, and that's
Gotcha.
very cool to me. Yes.
And to be at that point in life where you have the sense that you're where you're supposed to be is pretty neat. Um,
In a world that's absolutely chaotic right now, and to be comfortable with myself outside of that, I'm like I said, I'm pretty lucky in those terms as well because I don't know. I'm just having a good time. I'm literally living out a dream every time I go anywhere. Like I'm a fan first and foremost before I'm even stepping in the ring. So the fact that I get to do any of this is just mind-boggling to the umpteenth degree. And the fact that I have fans and people who actually like buy tickets to come see me and like I mean, thank you everyone. Thank you just even doing this. Thank you for asking me to be on a podcast. Like that
Oh,
means
absolutely, man.
it means more to me than
You
anything.
know, like I said, I love doing these and I love focusing on the indies and because being a small part of telling the story of people chasing a dream is just it's an honor. I mean,
You see, you get it. That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm very happy to be here because I knew that you got it and I know that you get it and it doesn't take a lot to get it. You know what I mean? Like
no,
some people get lost in the sauce is what I call it, and you know what I mean. They get a little in over their head, and that's that's part of their journey, and that's perfectly fine. Like I don't judge anybody whatsoever. Like everyone has their own stuff and this and that, but like the, I uh I feel like I said once before, I'm at the right age now where my mind can actually grasp both aspects of it. You know what I mean? The fan aspect, the business aspect, the working aspect of it. It's
hmm
um it's a juggle, don't get me wrong, but like it's something that can be done, you know what I mean? And if I can do it even at this level, then there's hope for everybody. You know what I mean?
absolutely, yep.
Man, I'm
So,
very sorry. Give me 1 second.
okay,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
no problem.
Oh, I'm so very sorry.
Oh, no problem.
I uh I just got back from Houston, Texas, and the weather is mildly deathly ill, and I apologize.
No problem.
That is
uh,
not that's very unprofessional. I just didn't want
hey,
to do something on screen that you would probably have to edit out anyway.
stuff happens. I mean,
Thank you.
know,
Thank you. I
um,
apologize. Holy crap.
no
Okay,
problem,
we're
man.
good. We're good.
Um, so anyway, we've heard about your first matches. Now tell us about your favorite match that you've been a part of.
Oh, man. So
It may be hard to narrow it down.
I don't know if I can genuinely pick one. I could probably pick a handful that stand, you know what I mean, that are probably pinpoints in my career. Um, to be perfectly honest, this very last one I just had, I wrestled for local wrestling in Houston, and I wrestled a man named Wesley Crane. It was my first death match back since I shattered my arm, and it was
Hmm
probably the easiest, craziest, uh, most fun match I've had in a long while. I haven't been in the ring in about 3 months, but it felt so good to be back, and he was so easy to work with. We had the start and we had the finish, and then we filled in the blanks the entire time. We didn't plan anything else besides the start and the finish, and I knew we were going to have good chemistry.
hmm
I I'm very much okay with reading people in terms of that. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you just click with somebody. Obviously, here we are.
Right. Yeah.
And I mean, I felt it immediately. It was super cool. He took a lot of punishment. He gave me a lot of cool punishment, but I also told him, I said, don't hold back. Like, this is my first match back. We're gonna make it look insane. That was amazing. Um, my match with Low Life Louie at X Brand Wrestling
Hmm.
was absolutely a dream come true. I put a fork in Louis' forehead. That was fantastic. It literally just went bong, 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 like it actually, you know what I mean, did the boing, and I almost cracked up laughing in the middle of the match because it looked like a cartoon. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, man, the next day I fought Mickey Knuckles. Are you aware of these people?
I've heard some of the names.
Okay. Low Life Louie has been around since early CCW days. He's actually a Hall of Famer of deathmatch wrestling. I
Hmm.
actually beat him that day, which is
Nice.
I will never forget it for the rest of my life. One of the nicest human beings in the entire world. Nothing but helpful, nothing but giving advice. You know what I mean? He's not yelling at you because you did something wrong, but he will tell you how to do it better. That
Right.
type of thing. And that's when I say that it's always training, that's what I mean. Like that type of thing.
Yep.
You're always learning. Don't ever stop learning because you're just shutting yourself off from being better.
Yep. The
Um,
day the day you stop learning is the day you die because you become stagnant.
you get it once again.
Yep.
See, man, yeah. Don't you got to watch Severance because you're gonna absolutely love it.
Okay.
Yes. Anyways, I also in X Brand Wrestling, I also fought a man named Anthrax. He's I don't want to say new around the scene. He's been around for a few good years. Um,
You know, actually, I was scheduled to have Anthrax on here, and we ended up with a scheduling conflict, and we just haven't been able to reconnect and make it happen.
well,
So
he's a champion now, so he's busy. He
yeah,
actually is the X Brand champion, and he's very much a mainstay at H2O Wrestling with Matt Tremont.
yeah,
Again, just one of the greatest human beings I've ever met. A lot of the people I fight are some of my best friends in the whole world when it comes,
yeah.
in terms of the business. Just nothing but wholesome human beings who watch out for each other. You run into a few bad apples here and there, but they tend to get weeded out really fast.
Hmm.
So it's a lot of people who understand that we're all in this together, and it's all one big thing that we're doing at the same time. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not in this to be a millionaire, a superstar, anything like that. Like, I don't ask for a lot of money. You know what I mean? Um, I'm in it because I very much love what I do, which is an insane thing to say considering what I do. But listen, I'm very much an admitted sadomasochist. Like but in terms of this, like outside of wrestling, I'm not like whipping myself or anything like that.
Right, right,
Um,
right,
I keep it very much. This is the accepted form of that. You
right,
know what I mean? I don't have to go to the hospital and get like locked up because I'm doing this. You know what I mean? If I did it on my own,
right.
maybe.
Yeah,
3-day observation. We're not trying to wear the slipper socks.
right, right. The "I love me" jacket.
Oddly enough, I used to wear one of those in high school because I was one of those guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I was always the guy with the mohawks and the spikes and the collars and the yeah. And that's another thing. Like this is as much as I am like a pacifist outside of the ring. I've always
hmm,
been the alternative guy who's listening to my name has always been hardcore even ever since I was a backyard wrestler. It's never
hmm.
changed because I grew up on hardcore punk. You know what I mean? I that's just it's encased everything that I've tried to have in my life. Not even so much like just to be like a hard ass, but like, you know what I mean? It's the music that I love. It's the movies that I love. It's, you know what I mean? It's what I do inside the ring. It's just encompassed so many different things, and I just never felt the need to change it. It's simple, it's effective, it's catchy. You know what I mean? I wouldn't, you know, try to like Google it or anything with my real name because people tend to get some results. But by the way, my real name is Dick.
Okay.
Yes, kayfabe, but my real name is Dick in real life. So, people literally like used to Google hardcore dick and then they would be like, oh no.
Well, yeah, I can only imagine
So, I mean,
what weird
yeah,
rabbit holes it'll take you
yeah,
down.
exactly. So it was really a big ha ha on me because they want to look at my footage and stuff like that. So they would YouTube it and they'd be like, oh, wait, no.
Yeah, don't go there.
Exactly. So now I add the TFC to the end of my name, which is total. Am I allowed to swear?
Yeah,
Oh, total fucking chaos. I'm in a faction. Our manager is the Outsider Will. We have literally members across the country and now Australia. We're very much just a bunch of punks who wrestle together. We got a couple members in Canada. We got a couple members in Pittsburgh and Texas and Australia and California and Detroit. A couple of us have gone to Japan now. We get around, and it's very cool. We don't get to link up very often, but when we do, it's always a good time. And that's really the thing that's kind of set us aside from everything. Like we've joined forces together, and now sometimes we come out as a tag team or a trio, and we have a manager who kind of plays a part, and it's really kind of added to it. And our manager kind of leads into like the comedy aspect of it. He's very much like Bobby the Brain Heenan, if you will,
gotcha. Yeah,
and it's it's just works so well. It's such a just good group of people, men and women actually, and it's just been absolutely phenomenal. And I don't regret anything of the past like literally 4 years of my life. Like it's just been a constant dream come true. That's the only way I can
gotcha.
describe it.
Well, so and and I won't include Canada because Canada doesn't entirely count. But have you had the opportunity to wrestle outside the United States?
Not yet, besides Canada, which is in March.
Yeah,
But there is slight rumblings of the UK and Australia soon.
really,
But
very cool.
one of my main goals is to get to Japan.
Hmm.
That has always been, you know what I mean? Like to be in the ring where the gods have done it.
Yeah.
I there's no way that if I walk out of that curtain, there's no way I'm not crying. You know what I mean? Like
Oh,
I'm an
for
emotional
sure.
guy. I'm a very emotional guy. I cry all the goddamn time. Um, so it's like even just this past weekend in Texas when I came out, it was very hard to like keep it together. You know what I mean? Like they started
Hmm.
chanting my name immediately, and I almost lost it. Absolutely, like which this is fine too. You know what I mean? Like I have no problem crying on camera in front of a crowd, but like oh, it's the adrenaline rush that could probably happen in Japan. I don't think I would ever feel it again, and I think that might ruin the rest of my life.
Yeah, I think Japan is on the bucket list for any wrestler worth their salt. I mean,
Deathmatch or not,
yeah,
like
yeah,
that is a mecca for wrestling. You know what I mean?
yeah.
That's the only way to put it. But I'm dying to go to Australia. There's a man named Joel Bateman out there who runs the deathmatch scene, and he's an amazing human being once again. Very rarely is there not an amazing human being in deathmatch. I will talk
Mhm.
highly about deathmatch people to to the end of time. They are some of the best people I've ever met in my entire life. But Joel Bateman has come over a couple times to the United States. He's always been one of the greatest human beings I've ever met. I've always had an amazing time with him. But I very, very much want to work with him and for him, and I just want to be over there. I'm pretty sure it's like a 27-hour flight, something like that.
Yeah, it's long.
It's long.
I haven't been there, but I've been to Asia, and that's long enough. I mean,
Where in Asia?
China actually.
Really? How was it?
Oh, uh, it's amazing.
I can
Um,
imagine.
yeah, yep,
I can
yep, yep.
imagine. How long were you there
But
for?
we were there for about 3 weeks.
That's
So
awesome, man. Congratulations.
yeah,
Good for you.
yeah. So in terms of your in-ring work and your promos, who or what would you say are some of your influences?
As far as in-ring work, very much Mick Foley, Necro Butcher, Terry Funk. Um, I very much adopted the like brawler style, but I like to pepper
Hmm.
in a move every now and again just to keep people on their toes. Like last week, I literally did a Hurricane Rana in the middle of a six-sided ring. Like, you know what I mean? Like I'm
Yeah,
capable. I just
yeah,
I'm having so much fun doing this that I don't want to not do this. You know what I mean?
yeah,
I don't want people to see me doing stuff like that and be like, oh, you know what I mean? Like, hey, do more, which is fine. Like, I have no problem doing it, but I mean, I'm a simple guy. Pile drivers, power bombs, punches, kicks, elbows, double action. You know what I mean? Like, I am not a guy who goes out of his way to like fly out of the ring. I was in a match on Thursday in Texas, and it was a six man, and everyone does lucha stuff in the match except for me,
Right.
basically. So
Yeah.
my two partners both did topa suicidas outside the ring. They did
Mhm.
the dive, and then I
Yeah.
went to go do it, but I climbed out slowly, and then I just did a double axe handle because I'm an old
That'll
man.
work.
Listen, it did the trick. It cleared the entire crowd. They loved it. They loved it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
Hey, oh, what I was going to say is, I can't remember exactly who it was, but a previous guest turned me on to a match of Necro Butchers where he worked Samoa Joe,
the greatest
and
match of all time.
that was a brutal match. I mean, I had to sit there and watch it about 3 times back to back, and I was just like, my God. I
Jaw
mean,
dropper.
yeah,
That is top three matches of all time for me.
yeah.
That changed. Like when I said I got back into deathmatch wrestling, it was because CZW invaded Ring of Honor during that time, and that's why that match happened. And during that time, my cousin, my brother, and I were all 3 years apart, and we're all
Hmm.
diehard wrestling fans, and we're just watching this happen, like in real time. Like you know what I mean? I would watch it. We would get the pay-per-views and everything, and it was just. I mean, we would sit there in awe. We would watch on a little screen this big because that's how big of a
Hmm.
computer we had. You know what I mean? Because we were dirt poor people, and we were just in absolute awe of all of it. The sound of the slaps and the headbutts and the just when Necrobuster hits the floor. I have my hair, all of my hair is standing up right now, just talking about it. This is
Yeah.
a match that completely changed my psyche when it came to wrestling. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
I'd like to actually think that Necro Butcher is a good friend of mine. The first time I was on pay-per-view, my girlfriend and I had to pick up Necro Butcher on the way down to Newark, and we got to
Oh,
spend an
cool.
entire night with Necro Butcher. And now every time I see him, we hang out, we have a great time. I literally have his number in my phone, like under his real name, and it's it's an absurd thing. Like I said, every day is a dream come true for me because I literally am living out every dream I've ever had with people that I used to dream about. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And they
Yep.
consider me contemporaries at the very least. You know what I mean? Like I'm not, like I said, I'm not trying to be, the superstar guy or anything, but like just getting to hang and just being able to experience and absorb all of this is I mean, even if I have Alzheimer's, which is probably going to happen because of all the head trauma, I'm probably going to remember this.
Yeah.
I have a wall of memorabilia, and it sounds very self-centered and everything, but it's a lot of my own stuff because I very much believe that as I get older, this is not going to be a thing anymore. You know what I mean, in my brain. So
Right.
I wanna hold on. I'm very much a memorabilia guy. I'm a collector. So it made sense to me, and I started putting together like this wall of like my favorite things, you know what I mean, or just like little things that I would grab on my travels, you know what I mean, drawings from people and random posters and flyers and pictures, and it's I'm not, I mean, like, I get very emotional even just talking about it because it's something that I never thought could possibly happen in a way that it's happening now. You know what I mean? Like I just got
Yep.
back from Texas. I'm going to Portland in a couple of weeks. After that, it's Canada, Philly. Like I'm actually booked through October already.
That is awesome.
I haven't advertised a single like, hey, book me thing. You know what I mean? Like usually wrestlers do like, hey, I'm available for dates and stuff like that. And this is actually the first year I've never had to do that. And that is that's
I
I
get
get
it.
real choked up. I'm sorry,
No, man, I get it. I
man.
mean, uh, like I said, having the opportunity to do these, is it's something special because it's such a great creative outlet. Like we were talking about before we went on the air. This is something so totally different than my shoot job. And it's just having that outlet is just so cool. I
It's
mean,
about Yeah, it's
Balance. Yeah.
night and day. This is the fun, and that's the boring, or you know what I mean. I don't know if you love your job or whatever. My job is a job. Like I literally
Yeah.
run a Dollar Tree. I get farted on by old ladies at least once a day. I'm not kidding. Like that's the thing that actually happens. It's not an enjoyable job, but it's a job. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it helps me eat, and that's fine. I don't care. It's just a job. But
Right.
my
Right.
fun part of my life is the most fun that I've ever had in my entire life. You
Gotcha.
know what I mean? Like
Gotcha.
when I'm on the road, it is the greatest high. Just, I mean, even like I said, just to be a part of it. You know what I mean? Like when I walk into the like arena or the venue and people recognize me and say hi immediately. You know what I mean? Like it's absolutely insane, and it's across the country, and that's nothing that I could have ever dreamt when I was a kid. Just watching, you
Gotcha.
know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
my cousin, who I talked about earlier, who ran the Hall of Fame. He injured his back when we were training,
Hmm.
and he never got to pursue it because of the back injury.
Right.
And I very much do this in part for him. You know what I mean? Like I talk to
Hmm.
him every day. I give him all the updates. I tell him what's going on, who I'm working with, stuff like that. He is one of my biggest supporters in the world. As I feel very bad talking to him about it because I know it probably kills him that he's not a part of it. But
Right.
I'd also like to think that this keeps him a part of it. You know what I mean? Like, um, same with my brother. My brother is very much on the spectrum. He's not the most social person, but when it comes to wrestling, that is the subject to talk about. And I'll text him every now and again and be like, "Hey, I'm on the road. This is who I'm fighting," and he'll get very excited sometimes. And when he
Hmm.
gets excited, I get the most excited because getting emotion out of my brother is like pulling blood from a stone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's cool to include, especially my close family. But I mean, just the friends that I've met. Like I have met fans, and those fans are now friends that I travel with on the road on the regular basis. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
they are my posse on the road. They're ring crew now whenever I go anywhere, and it's just people who used to come watch me. And that's
Gotcha.
that's what I absolutely love about this. Like it forms these bonds, and I'm very much a guy. I talk about it all the time. I'm only here to build bridges. I'm
Yep.
not a guy to upset anything, you know what I mean? In the sense like I'm not ripping people apart or anything like that. I just want to make this better.
Yep.
And I get to do that every now and again behind the scenes, and that is also one of my favorite aspects. When I get to put two people in touch with each other and then it turns into this,
Yep.
that is one of my greatest it's just it warms my soul because it's like, well, now there's that, you know what I mean? And then it's going to create this other thing and this other thing. It's just going to be this microcosm of insanity, but where everyone takes care of each other.
Yep.
And
Yep.
that's what I'm all about in terms of this. That's hardcore outside the ring and inside the ring and in real life. That's the one constant across all of the plateaus of my life is I'm the guy who tries to make friends wherever I go.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
And I understand not a lot of people, respond to that, and that's fine, but like we're doing okay. We're doing okay.
Gotcha. So, and this can be present day or past. Who would be a dream opponent for you? Who would hardcore love to work?
First and foremost, Cactus Jack. But
Hmm.
Cactus Jack in Japan.
Yeah.
1000%. I want explosives, I want beds of nails, I want barbed wire boards, I want everything under the sun. I want Mick Foley at his absolute peak. In terms of now, I'm gonna go with I'll give you a couple legends and I'll give you a couple of I'll say like now guys, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Um, I mean, Nick Gage would be an absolute dream. Um, Terry Funk if he was alive.
Yeah.
That's. Oof. I can only imagine it's
R.I.P.
probably. Listen,
Yeah.
I got to meet him once, and it was the greatest time of my life.
Hmm.
Nicest human being in the world. His voice is sweet molasses.
Yep.
Um, but in terms of now, I mean, genuinely so many good people that are working in the current deathmatch scene that it's. I am very much a guy, like even if someone's like, "Hey, name me your favorite album," I would have to give you 20 albums because I can't do one, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, let's pick a couple. Uh, Judge Joe Dredd, look him up. He's very, very. Oh, I got a thumbs up there. Um, oh, let's see. Tara Zepp, she's a relative up and comer. She's from Canada. She's been doing some insane stuff. Um, Jimmy Lloyd. Jimmy Lloyd is a GCW, CZW guy. Oh my goodness. Jun Kasai from Japan. And I'm gonna say Joel Bateman from Australia. That's a
Gotcha.
good. As soon as we're done with this, I'm gonna think of 30 more because that's how my brain
Right.
works. But that's right
Yeah.
off the top of my head. Anyone that you could probably name right now, if you had a list of like current deathmatch wrestlers, would be a hit out of the park. You know what I mean? There's not one that
Gotcha.
I actually think is like a bad one. I'd like to think I'm probably one of the easier people to work with, so I can work with 99.999% of people. So I'm, like I said, I get excited working with new people. I get excited with working with people I've never heard of. Um, it's all a learning curve. You know what I mean? You can only adapt to what you're given, and I'm very much an adaptation guy. Um, I like thinking on my feet. That's why I like in some matches, like it's not necessary to plan because, like I said, you just have that chemistry, and I love doing that because it's like, well, you know what I mean. Now you're, the sky's the limit,
Right.
and it usually turns out pretty well. So I enjoy that very much. But I also enjoy fully plotting out a match from start to finish, and like hitting every
Gotcha.
single thing. That is very very gratifying also. And I only like to do that because when I was a kid, I watched Macho Man versus Ricky Steamboat Intercontinental
Yeah.
title match. And
Yep.
they practiced that match for I think it was like something like 3 months. Don't quote me on that. But every single punch thrown was something that they choreographed. Every
Yep.
single thing. And that's why I mean, it's one of the greatest matches of all time, in my opinion. I'm pretty sure it's pretty top tier on most lists. But I mean, when I found that out, growing up, and I was just like, I mean, that makes absolute perfect sense. But then I've also watched matches of, two people who just have amazing chemistry and also put on the same quality of match. You know what I mean? Like it really varies on who you're in there with.
Gotcha.
That's really all it comes down to. But I love both aspects of it.
Gotcha. You were mentioning Terry Funk. It's funny. A match when especially when I have really young wrestlers on here, a match I always recommend for them to find and check out is from back in '89, the I Quit match between Flair and Funk at
Oh,
a Clash of the Champions.
you know what
That
made that
that
special?
match, that's a master class in storytelling.
I couldn't agree more. And you know what made that special? They were good
What?
friends in real life.
Yep.
They
Yep.
had probably the best chemistry in the ring between two people on that level. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Uh, they would walk into an arena and not plot a single thing because
Yep.
they knew right off the bat. They knew right off the bat, and it was a crazy thing to witness because not back when I was younger, I didn't know it, but like when I watch it back now, it's like, man, that is just I like all
Yeah.
through the night. I have chills right now.
Yeah.
It's something that can't be replicated.
Right.
You know what I mean? And here's another match, and it's such an insane thing to even say or like put on lists like this. The Rock and Hogan at that WrestleMania
Yeah.
when they did the flip flop face heel
Yep.
thing, and it was
Yeah.
just because the crowd.
Yeah.
That
Reading the
is,
crowd and basically changing on the fly and doing this double turn on the fly was just, yeah.
yup.
Moments like that are magic.
And you know what? Nobody planned that. I'm pretty sure everyone in the back was furious about it.
Probably.
And then as time went on, it became one of the favorite moments of, the recent eras.
Yep.
And for good reason. Like that is. you could like again, you could never replicate that. That is something that will never happen in a million years again. That is once in a lifetime because those two dudes were in the ring and they had enough wherewithal to listen to what the crowd was saying.
Gotcha.
But on the opposite note, a lot of times the crowd will chant "twist his dick." Ignore that.
Yeah,
It happens a lot.
I'm sure. So, what is your as far as the deathmatch stuff goes? What is your favorite in-ring weapon?
So I'm very much a guy who I make all of my own weapons when I go into a match, as long as I can travel with it.
Hmm.
Um, I make a lot of crazy bats.
Hmm.
I've made scissor bats and razor blade bats and bats with the little umbrellas you put in drinks on them and um, safety pins. But I'm very much a light tube guy. I'm very much a pane of glass guy. I love a gusset plate, as sick as that sounds. It is the most insane thing that's ever been a thing of wrestling, and it's so devastating and so painful. But it's instant blood. If someone hits that in your head, your whole face is blood.
Hmm.
It's as long as you can handle it, it's the coolest thing ever. But it literally
Gotcha.
goes into your skull. Like there's not a whole lot of skin between this and like you know, and the teeth on them are a good whatever. They very much go into your skull. But I also love like a barbed wire contraption. I'm very much an old school guy too. Like give me a barbed wire board. I
Hmm.
did one of those down in Texas a few months back, and the barbed wire got so stuck in my back that it like pulped my back. I have like actual like holes in my back because it just took chunks of skin
Hmm.
because it twisted. Barbed wire is devastating, but it's like it's the sure classic. Just everyone gasps and hates it, and um, but on the opposite end, if we're going with the least favorite, are you aware of what a Kenzan is?
I've heard the term, but I'm not sure what it is exactly.
So it originated, I believe, in Japan and or Hawaii. Don't get me, you know what I mean? Don't quote me on anything I'm saying on that aspect, but it's definitely from an Asian aspect. So it's a solid piece of steel with maybe 50 to 100 steel teeth going up, and they're about this big. So it literally looks like a round metal comb, basically, but it's solid steel. And they
Okay.
use it to actually stick on flowers to arrange floral arrangements so that they stand straight up.
Oh, I think
And
I see where this is going.
somebody in Japan discovered it, and it literally it pulls your skin because it your skin squeezes.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, after this, if you want, I will send you pictures from my match with Mickey Knuckles. She put one in my head that was 2 inches wide, and I've never bled so much in my entire life. It was the most. I almost blacked out. It was so painful. Like it
Wow.
probably weighed a good 5 pounds, and then she just kind of punched it into my face.
Oh no.
And yeah, I was able to. I pulled it out in the match, and the only way I can describe the way it sounded inside my head was if you were chopping lettuce so very slowly that it was painful,
Oh.
just like a, a slow rip with squish.
Oh.
That is probably my least favorite thing. But even that, like I've taken probably a good 6 or 7 of them at this point. You know what I mean? Like to be perfectly honest, my least favorite thing of all time is chops. I hate chops on a fiery passion. That is
Hmm.
when people, I'm all for it. I will never say no to it. But when they do it, I feel with so much rage, it's not even funny. It definitely like feeds. You know what I mean? But it's just the most annoying feeling in the world.
Yeah.
It's yeah,
You,
it's
you
bad.
know, one of I've heard that thumbtacks are not that bad.
It really depends because sometimes the flat part of the thumbtack will actually break
Mhm.
off, so you just have tiny little nails inside of you.
Oh, that's not good. Yeah.
Oh yeah. In the head, it really depends. I've gotten hit with something covered in thumbtacks to the point where like my entire head was engulfed in thumbtacks, and that felt like my head was on fire.
Yeah, I'm
Like
sure.
actually, it felt like it was actually on fire. Like it felt like it was a flame. Um, in the arms, it doesn't feel like anything. I've taken them basically everywhere at this point. I've had them stuck into my tongue. Like I've had them stuck into my head one at a time.
Hmm.
I don't mind them too much. You know what I like to do? When I already said I like to make my own weapons and everything. So I'm a one-upper when it comes to weaponry making. So people use
Okay.
thumbtacks. I use push pins.
Oh, the ones with the little barrel on the end.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Oh, nice.
People like to use barbed wire. I like to use razor wire. Like
Oh,
I get silly with it. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like
So you basically just kind of raise the stakes a little bit. Yeah.
you better believe it, sir. And like I said, 99% of the time, if I'm making something like that, I fully expect to take it. You know what I mean? So that's
Right.
that's that's totally fine. But that's why I do it because then it's like, oh my God, somebody just did something that was even more insane.
You know, one of uh, one of the weirdest things I ever saw in a match, and I had to think this was probably incredibly painful. I saw somebody get power bombed onto Legos one time, and I've stepped on Legos before, and the thought of getting power bombed onto Legos just does not sound at all good.
There is a gentleman in the deathmatch scene named Tommy Vendetta out of the Michigan area, and his thing he likes to bring to the ring is a box of Legos, like a bucket of Legos, and he dumps them out and he gives pile drivers and everything. They suck. They
Yeah,
suck. There's no give. They don't break. They
no,
don't, you know what I mean? They will embed in your back before they break.
yeah,
And it you land on one wrong, like on your back, and the wind's knocked out of you. Like it takes a Lego this big to take you out of the match for 30 seconds. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
it it's a thing, man. It's very much that's a heavy duty. That's a heavy duty. I haven't messed with them often, but um yeah, they're not great.
Yeah. Um, I saw that happen. I was just like, oh no. I
Yeah, that's a
mean,
gasper. That's what I call it. Yeah, I gasp at stuff
yeah,
like that. Oh no. Oh yeah, yeah. And when I do that, that means something.
yeah, no doubt. So, you know, you've been doing this a while. Um, so knowing everything that you know at this point in your life, if you could give any advice to your younger self, what would it be?
Don't stop. Don't stop. I wish I didn't take the breaks that I did because I would have
Hmm.
been much further. But at the same time, like I did stuff that I need to do in my life. But
Yeah.
um, I mean, I wish I had a better mindset, you know, as I was younger, to grasp it better. 'Cause I feel like I would have been further in that aspect at least, even if I wasn't like doing it physically, I would have
Hmm.
understood it better. Um, but once again, like I also like to think like I'm exactly where I need to be at the moment. So I don't have too much to say to myself, but like everyone else, train, train, train. Don't stop working out. Don't give up on yourself. Like even if you don't have a good support system, you have you. If
Yep.
you believe in yourself enough, it's gonna happen. Like I've had my ups and downs. You know, what I mean, I've had nights where I've, you know, cried myself to sleep because of things that have happened in the business, and it's such highs and such lows that it's near psychotic, but it's doable. And
Yep.
if my crazy ass can do it, then you can do it too. And if anyone needs to ever talk or, you know, ask questions about it or, you know, get feedback on anything, you know where to find me. Like I'm not a guy who doesn't answer messages and stuff like that. I'm very much just like everyone else. Like I'm not a guy who considers himself anything. So I will talk to everybody. I will literally, after my matches, I'm always out in the crowd. I'm always just talking to everybody and having a good time. And I feel like that's a very important aspect of this. Like people who tend to be a wrestler don't sometimes like to be that guy who goes out and is like a man of the people, but I feel like it can only do good, you know what I mean? As long as you're doing good about it, you know what I mean? You're not the jerk of the company or anything like that. Like I talk to all the fans. I sit around, we'll have a beer, we'll chit chat about whatever. And it's I feel like that's a very important aspect of it. Like you have to. Otherwise, you become this guy and I can't do that. I've always been this because that's you know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm the fan who gets to do cool stuff. That's really all it is. That's all
Gotcha.
it is.
Gotcha. So, do you have any pre-show traditions? Any things you try to do consistently before you go through the curtain?
Honestly, no. I'm very, very comfortable right before my match. I don't like to eat a lot before my match because I have an underlying fear of pooping in the ring. I know it's not just me. I used to watch things about Andre the Giant. He actually did like a move and like actually pooped on a guy, and there was like vomit involved because it was and I'd seen him out, and that's always been in the back of my brain. I don't ever want to have that reputation in this company or this this field of work. Um, I I don't eat a lot. I'll maybe have a couple beers. Like I don't go out of my way to like get messed up or anything, but like I relax, you know. Um, I hang out with people. I talk to friends. I talk over the match if need be. I'm pretty chill right before. Like that's probably the most calm I am. And then I bust through the thing, and then I'm insane, and then right back to being calm. Like it's very much flip of a switch for me. There's no like I'm not pacing. I'm not hyping
Right.
myself up or anything like that. Like some people listen to music. Some people they're sitting in the back and punching themselves in the cheek and blah 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 blah. To each their own, you know what I mean? Whatever you got to do to
Yeah.
get hype up, I'm good to go. I'm good to go. Like it's very cozy for me. It's like I said, it's very much therapy. So everything's already been built up. I'm not trying to let it out before I get out there. So it's pretty simple. I put on my gear, I get ready, I chit chat, I do whatever, and then it's time, and that's it.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
it's the most boring story ever, but that's how it's always been. I don't get nervous, I don't get butterflies. Like, actually, that's kind of a lie. This last time back in Loco in Texas, I actually got a little butterflies because it was the first time in 3 months. But
Right.
besides that,
And
I'm
and
actually
and and first time back after a pretty significant injury, so
it was yeah, it was on the brain. It was on the brain, and once I got out that curtain, it was gone. That's it.
gotcha. If you don't mind my asking, how did you manage to shatter your arm? What happened?
Ooh. So I've been feuding with a Nimrod in Jersey called Jimmy Chando.
Okay.
A few years back, he actually went on Facebook, which I don't have. I only use Instagram.
Okay.
And he started to talk a lot of smack about me, how I was unsafe and this and that, and literally just ran his mouth for a good long while. And eventually, I messaged him. I said, "Hey, man, be careful because you're going to work yourself into a shoot." And people started to get on him and this and that, and blah blah blah. And that was around the time where I went back to training because I was like, I'm going to show everybody, you know what I mean? Like, if he's going to run his mouth, I'm just going to prove him wrong. And then it turned into a feud at X Brand Wrestling,
Mm-hmm.
and we had our first match, and I beat him. And then we had our second match was a no barbed wire, and he pushed
Mm-hmm.
me through the barbed wire, and the barbed wire broke, and I fell out of the ring, and I went to protect my head, and I got my arm
Mm.
on solid concrete. I have a 4-inch metal plate here, and I have 7 screws in my little bones. And that was three
Mm.
months ago. They told me 8 to 10 months, maybe. And I said, nah, I have stuff to do. And I was back in the ring last week.
Well, congratulations. That is a heck of a turnaround.
Like I said, I very much know my body, and I have a very crazy fast healing ability for whatever reason. Knock on wood. Being
So
40 years old,
yeah, that's almost like Wolverine fast.
I've been told that a couple times, yes. I'm very lucky in terms of that. But I've also busted my ass, you know what I mean? Like I was literally at the gym
Right.
2 days later, not with this arm, but you know what I mean? I haven't stopped, I haven't slowed down. I went through my
Hmm.
physical therapy and everything like that, but my progression was so fast that I literally didn't need it anymore. I'm good to go. I have no issues after my 2 matches. I had no pains, no ailments, no nothing. Um, yeah, so now we're gonna have match three eventually, and I'm just gonna tear him apart because he took food out of my mouth for 3 months.
Yeah.
That is a thing that doesn't happen in my household. So he really messed up bad.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
I'm pretty
yeah.
excited to get back to him.
Well, speaking of all of that, we're getting toward the end of things. So do you have any upcoming shows or anything at all you'd like to give some hype to?
Oh, brother, I appreciate this. So in the upcoming let's see. Next, I am going to Portland, Oregon for Pacific Northwest Persona non Grata 2, where I fight Tommy Trainwreck in a no ring death match. It's going to be pretty good, pretty good. After that, 2 days later, I have to go to Philly, where I'm in a four-man scramble match. It's me, Bam Sullivan, Angel Metro, and Sergeant Jimmy Controversy for X Brand Wrestling. And then following that is the tournament in Canada for Canadian Deathmatch Crazy 8 tournament. Those are the three upcoming. That covers the next couple months. But I'm booked solid through October, I think. August, October, September, somewhere in that area. It's a busy year. It's a busy year. I'm very grateful. I'm very thankful. Um, Catch me wherever you can because it's gonna be a good time either way. I tend to open a show because I tend to be the craziest man on the show, and I like to pop off the entire feel for the night. And I'm
Yep.
glad promoters see that now. I'm basically. Are you familiar with Akira?
Akira?
Akira, he does deathmatch, but he's also done like
Yeah.
Major League Wrestling and stuff like that. He used to be the opener for all the shows because the same reason. He was the guy who would, you know what I mean, go above and
Yeah.
beyond and set the tone. And I very much enjoy that. Also because I get to enjoy the rest of the show for the rest of the night.
I have actually reached out to Akira about coming on, but I have yet to hear back from him. So
He's a
I
busy
know
guy.
it's
He's a
busy.
busy guy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's a very good dude. He's a very good dude.
Yeah.
So don't take it as any disrespect.
Oh, not at
He just
all. No.
he's no he's just he's all over the place, quite literally.
Yeah.
I've run
Yeah.
into him once on the road ever, and it just happened to be in Buffalo. I was getting on a train. He was coming from Canada, and he missed his flight. And
Ah.
that was the first and only time I've ever run into anyone on the road. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was very cool because I'm a big fan of his. Also, he does some insane stuff.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yes, yes.
But as far as what I've got coming up, this coming Monday, the 3rd at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, I've got episode 79 with a wrestler from the Midwest, Unbreakable Sean Phoenix.
Oh,
Um, and then Wednesday, the 5th at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, I've got episode 80 with the flowing Samoan Anthony Toatele. He is currently being featured some on OVW.
really?
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Can we
Yep.
go back to Sean Phoenix real quick?
Yeah.
Does a lot of his ring gear have flames on it?
I believe it does. Yeah.
So I am actually a very good friend of Sean Phoenix's.
Really.
I wasn't
Yeah.
sure if there was more than one, but
He does the fire breathing as
yeah, yeah,
well.
yeah.
Yeah.
I do believe. Yeah, okay. If it's the guy I'm thinking of, then yeah, we actually like have come up together a little bit.
Oh, very cool. Very
Yeah, very
cool.
cool. That's a good lineup. Congratulations.
Yeah. And like I said, when we were talking before we went live, I'm basically booked up through the first week of April. So I
As you
mean,
should be.
uh,
As you should be.
and
You're a great
uh,
dude. Thank you very much for this.
well, thank you for your time. I
Yeah,
mean,
come on, of course.
this has been an absolute treat.
Yes.
And you can definitely consider yourself part of the Throwdown family. You've got a standing invitation to come back anytime you want. Um, and for those of you that have been watching this live, thank you. For those of you that'll be seeing this on replays, thank you for that. If you like what we've got going here, continue to spread the word because, like I said, this thing's really gaining some traction, and it's I'm having the time of my life doing them. And we'll be back Monday night. And in the meantime, love each other,